I haven't done all of that, but I've done this. Yeah, no, because I've done this. I have gone on holiday, in the Mediterranean, and I have flown there and flown back out, and on every occasion I've always been amazed at how many ships I can see, how busy the shipping is in the Mediterranean Sea. Now, we say sea level for the very reason that a sea, most common sense people, but before you have your common sense robbed from you, you realize that a sea level means that the beach on this side of your sea is the same height as the beach on the other side of your sea. Your boat is going to go across a level body of water and eventually get to the other harbor. It's not going to have gone downhill or uphill. Right? So if over the Mediterranean Sea, let's say a stretch of 50 miles, for example, that boat has gone over a level body of water, where is the curvature that science says meant to be on a bull?
I think you can see it if you can hire it. That's my...
But it's about measuring it. So you see, because remember, we're getting the problem with perspective is that we oftentimes we think we see the curvature at 3 miles. Oh, like I said, if you go up to a hotel's 10th floor, no, you can see 10 miles now. Yeah? And then hot air balloon, now I can see 30 miles. 30,000 feet in your aircraft, now you can see 150 miles in each direction. And still, you can detect no curvature. People think when they look into the distance, yes, they can see the horizon bending, but I could get into how that is. But the point is, when you come back to the boat and the measurement of that boat either going down the hill to your other port or going across a sea level or a level sea, that's the question you have to answer in your mind. Now, for me, I know that between the English Channel and England and France, it's a level body of water, and the beach on this in England is the same as the beach on this side. I also know that in America, on the East Coast, the sea level is the same as the West Coast, bar a few feet for tidal swell, right? And when your teacher ever drew you on the chalkboard at school, the continent of the North America, he would have drawn a straight line, done some rocky mountains and some other, smoky mountains and this, and got to the East Coast and gone straight line. Not, right, now we've got to account for, across the 3,000 miles of America, we've got to account for 70 miles, I'm just taking it off the top of my head, but I think, 70 miles should be the amount, or perhaps a lot more, of actual curving. When we know that the highest mountain in America might be, 10,000 feet or 12,000 feet or something like that. And that's as high as we go. And then when we go down that 12,000 feet, it's from the sea level. It's measured topographically from the sea level. Is it the sea level? Is it the sea level on the East Coast or the sea level on the West Coast? I suggest it's neither, or either, rather. There is only one sea level, which topographical maps all used as their reference point. Because imagine the confusion of saying, well, your mountain is 8,000 feet above sea level on the East Coast, but it's 400,000 feet above the West Coast because it's where it is, and because we're on a ball. So somewhere in our minds we're brainwashed as youngsters to thinking that this level thing that we see all around us is actually curving, but it's so big that we can't see the curve. So we just ascribe that to our imagination, and we say, okay, we've seen the ball, we know we live on this. And
could it be? I mean, the thing is, could it be so big that you can't see it? I mean, is that
a possibility?
Yeah, for pretending to be sort of
okay. Thinkers, yeah.
But would you say it's a possibility that
okay.
explanation is true?
Well, let's take that idea, or let's take that question just one step further, if I may, and that is to ask you this: if the Earth is bigger than they say it is, they say it's about 25,000 miles in circumference, right? So if they've got that wrong, don't you think that would be like already a huge red flag to say, well, hold on a minute, you guys should know exactly. We've got satellites flying around here. We've mapped every inch of it, according to Google Earth and all this sort of hoo-ha. So almost like the human heart, we should almost be able to create a laser copy of the Earth by now. But the truth is that there's no one agreed globe. There's no one agreed layout of the map in any format. In America, if you buy a globe in a store, it's got to say on the underneath, not for educational purposes, only to be sold as a toy, because there isn't a single legally agreed map of the Earth. So could it be much bigger? Okay, let's take your argument or that question a little further. If it's bigger, then what would be the...
It's not bigger, but my point is it possible that the size is exactly what they say it is?
Yeah.
And that in reality it is... truly too big for you to be able to see it at this
Okay.
middle of a height.
From this, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Is it possible
Yeah.
what they're saying is true? I'm not
Okay.
saying is it likely.
Okay.
You think it's unlikely. But I'm
Yeah.
saying, is it possible?
Yeah.
That's all I want to. That's
Well,
all I want to know from you. If you
One of the tricks they do to us with the Globe Lie or the Globe indoctrination program is to either say it's too big for us to model it, so we can't show you how water is going to be attracted to another object, like gravity does. It's too big, or you're too small to see the curvature or any of the effects that we're talking about. That's why you
gravity's
can't.
not an attraction. It's not a force.
Okay. Well, just on the point of, if I can, before we get on the gravity thing, the point the point of that is that if I'm small and I can't see, I can take a camera up high and have a view that is much greater than my little view right here. Because they say,
Some views like that.
yeah,
Like have you seen the Red Bull skydiver? He goes up in a balloon, he goes up
Yeah.
real high.
Yeah.
He has a spacesuit on.
Yeah.
I mean, pressure. It's like
Yeah.
jumps down. You can see some curvature in that video.
yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen that one. Do you remember how high you got?
It might have been, I don't know, it was like 90,000 feet or something.
I think a bit higher than that, about 120,000, 130,000 feet. It was apparently very high. What eagle-eyed researchers have found is that inside of his cupola, there was a camera mounted on the inside of his cupola. And,
Which research?
well, anyone, you can go on the internet and find this now. You can go and look at the Red Bull jump again after we've spoken. But when you look at it, you'll realize that there's a camera on the inside of his cupola that's filming the whole time. And as he steps out into outer space, you see the horizon outside of his cupola, and it's a perfect straight line. How we explain what you saw on the Red Bull jump is that the two outside cameras are fisheye lens or GoPro lenses, right? And these GoPro lenses, if you watch even from 5,000 feet, it's already sort of creating a bend in the earth shape that looks almost like you're on a ball. In fact, he jumped, I think, in Nevada. Was it Nevada or somewhere like that? Yeah. Well, he's only over in one county of that, in his footage, and it looks like you're seeing about a quarter of the entire Earth. He's over Big Bear or somewhere, or one of those places. Anyway, it looks like once you start to look at it critically, you realize, yes, it's curving. Sometimes it's decurving and creating a convex, and then it's a concave shape. So that's the.
The amount of curve, I mean, of course, it could be from a convex lens. I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Everything's a possibility.
Yeah. I didn't think so too. When the Red Bull jump happened, I still believed in a ball, by the way.
If you look at this, will be, if you look at pictures of what they say is the Earth from the international, what they say is the International Space Station,
Yeah.
the curve even that they show is there. Isn't really too dramatic.
Yeah.
It's quite
Yeah.
subtle. It's because the
Yeah.
scale in their model, the scale of the Earth is really big.
Yeah.
To the point that even from, I think the ISS is supposed to be 200 miles up or something.
That's right, about 250. Yeah.
Even from that height, what you see on the curve is not that dramatic. So it makes sense to me that from 140,000 feet or something, it would be reverse.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, that's right. I mean, and so if you go back and look at the Red Bull jump, you'll notice that the curve is more intense for the guy on the Felix Baumgartner at 140,000 feet than it is at 250 miles for the ISS. So it's as in more sharp, more sharp. So the ISS footage gives us a very gentle curving Earth in front of us. That's what we see. But when you go back and look at the Red Bull jump, you'll find that it's a much more sharp. It's as if you're seeing more of the ball on the Red Bull jump than you do on the ISS. That's just interesting. So you've got to really, for me, I went through all of it with the sort of the wool of belief over my eyes, and it's only when you pull that off that you start picking apart. The same as if you don't believe in a religion, you can see the holes in that religion far more easily than someone who's been brought up to believe it being true, right? Well, this is exactly the same with the religion of gravity and the ISS. If the ISS was real, here's a sort of a what if for you, right? If the ISS was real and flying at 250 miles above us,
Which
You-
you can see with the telescope.
Yeah, I know there is some
There's something
effect.
up there.
Yeah, there's some effect that they're doing up there, but I don't for a nanosecond believe that we can actually see something traveling at 17,000 miles an
Have you ever
hour.
gone outside to see if how the other
No, I've never tried. I've never. Yes, I have. I haven't tried.
causing it?
I think.
Kind of spotlight or something.
I think that I think that it's either it's one of these like U2 spy plane, something like that, that's been fitted out to look like that, and it's carrying perhaps some kind of light show that people can see.
Because there's even there's a guy in the Netherlands, you can look this up on Google. He's an amateur astronomer,
Yeah.
and he's even taking pictures at times during space flights. It's like to see the figures of the astronauts
Yeah.
out in space. So whatever light show they're putting on, they would also have to
Wow.
have a way of
Wow.
putting figures on the outside.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, have you seen how they do their training on the ISS spacewalks?
Oh yes, I know. Yeah, so I know that you think they train in the water. So
That's right.
Also supposedly where they film.
Yeah, the real thing.
This is my perspective on it. You can't be 100% sure of everything.
So you don't trust your government fully. That's fair to say.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying.
Well, I don't. So you're in good company if you don't.
Yes, but that's for my student.
Okay.
I'm studying low test antibody in Cambridge, and I know that very well when I'm trying to establish something, an opinion. You can never prove anything 100%. You can't prove that I'm talking to you 100%.
For me, this is 100% proof that I'm talking to you. For me, this is, you see, for me, this creation that our Creator, the Most High, God, call it if you like, gave us was a bunch of senses, very important senses, 5 key senses.
My point is that even the senses
Can be
often
deceived.
can be deceived. Yeah. So I mean, my main point is you can't prove anything 100%. You can only be very certain. You could say, well,
Yeah.
maybe I feel 90% sure that this concept. But you also can't prove that I have thoughts in my brain.
I can't prove you having thoughts or that I have thoughts, but I can prove, for me, I can prove that I'm here and I've got video footage to show that I was here talking to you. What's your name?
Cody.
Cody, I'm Dave.
Yeah, Dave. Yeah,
Dave, nice to meet you. And I, for me, this is absolute. This is my version of reality.
Yes.
It might be. Some people say we're in some sort of virtual reality. That may well be. But for me, this is as real as it gets. And my conversation with you, Cody, is as real as it gets. And my wife, who's sitting behind me, she'll go, "Yeah, I saw you talking to that guy with the blue shirt." I'll be like, "Yeah, his name was Cody, and he was from Minnesota." No, where are you from?
I'm from Louisiana.
Louisiana. I like it down there, Louisiana.
Have you been there?
I think so. I think I went to a place called Jacksonville, I think.
Oh, it's Mississippi.
Is that yeah. I went, and I drove across America in 1988 on a road trip both ways, there and back, east to west coast and back again. And I loved it. I loved that part of the country, by the way. That was very chilled, laid back. I enjoyed that very much. But where was I going to go with this? So for me, when it comes to, can I show that water is level? Can I show that water is level? Yes. Can I tell you that my senses detect that I'm not moving and that there's a light breeze moving across us in this sort of direction? That's about all I could tell you. If I was to ask you and I to say, hey, quickly tell us which way we're spinning. Which way is the Earth spinning at this point in time? We'd struggle to answer that question because our senses are not giving us any indication that we're spinning. And then so scientifically, it turns out in the 1800s, we tried to answer this question once and for all. Is Earth spinning, or is it the sky and the sun and the moon, as Genesis says, that is actually moving above our heads? And it turns out that all the scientific experiments, Sagnac, Michelson-Morley, this is all peer-reviewed stuff of the day, Airy's failure, these are all experiments from top scientists trying to prove that the Earth is moving, and they all singularly failed to find that. So
What is this? There's this laser experiment that the Flat Earth guy is doing. I don't remember the exact details, but it's some kind of expensive laser equipment that they purchased.
Yeah.
Whether there is
some kind of gyroscopic laser.
Yeah,
There was a there was a hit piece. Well, there was a hit piece done by Netflix, right? And I don't know whether these people are actually you know, the legit flat earthers, or they just got their stuff turned over. But at the end of the day, that machine, we've looked into the machine, and the manufacturers of that machine say, no, you can't detect the Earth moving, because if you could, then they would use that as a scientific proof to say, here's our empirical proof. You can place it on this part of the Earth or that part of the Earth, and you'll find the Earth is moving at different speeds, as it would be, because it's meant to be 1,000 miles at the equator and sort of not moving at all at the poles, you know, because it's almost on a dime there, isn't it? So they say that, and what I will offer to you as a possibility is that the ether that was banished by Einstein and so on is a real thing, and the ether is like a plasma or a fourth state of matter that we exist in. It's like an electromagnetic soup that we exist in, and that electromagnetic soup is constantly turning at about 3 or 4 miles an hour. So when they did the interferometer experiments, which were done in the 1800s and early 1900s to try and prove that the Earth was moving, they found this turning speed.
So do you believe the experiment?
Do I believe which experiments? Interferometer. Well, I think that the interferometer experiments are useful. I've not done them myself.
My thing is, like, if you believe something is true,
Yeah, that's so. Yeah. Well, that's no, but hold on. This is I'm going to kind of turn this back on the ball belief, because you see, it's the ball that we used to say we believe it. But now I was saying that's a massive claim, because in physics, there's a lake just behind us. You know, in physics we know that water must be contained. If it has a breach, the water will run away until it finds a lower place. Once it gets to that lowest place, it will settle there and find a level. That level will be measurably level, that you could build a structure off the level of that building. You could level that against the level of the ocean generally. So there is only, for me, water is always level. So it's the claim.
say we took one of those inflatable balls.
Yeah.
You guys have kickballs?
Okay. Yeah.
We put some water inside of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What happened is the water would be pressing inside the wall of each ball.
Yes.
Because it's being
Correct.
pushed.
Agreed.
It's not, I don't think it's, you don't say that water has to be level. If there are other forces or influences
Yes.
changing the shape.
Well, I wasn't bringing in other forces and influences, so I was saying like water at rest. Okay, so when we were in school and they teach us about gravity, what they do is they put water in a bucket and they spin it around the teacher's head, and they say this is how gravity is being contained because of this thing called gravity. But really, in your example, with a ball being where you're creating energy, Newton's third law, so you're actually creating a force against which the water is naturally going to react. Yeah, because because if you filled your water ball, say half full, and left it on the floor to settle. Yeah, you put the ball on the ground to settle. Then the water across the center
assumes that it's settled. I mean, it assumes that the water on the earth is settled.
Yeah.
Yes. You make an assumption, basically.
No, well, I think we can say that, like, if I spilled your cup, yeah, if I bumped your cup, you would say my water is, the water is now sort of moving around inside of the cup and so on. But if you left it for 5 minutes, then we would be able to prove that water was still.
That's what the whole discussion is about. I mean, is the earth moving or not? The flat earthers say it's not, and scientists say it is. Yeah, it's like,
but why? What's their proof for that? Say that to say that.
that it's not.
Well, just my senses. Yeah, well, just my senses say that nothing's moving. Like on a still day when the clouds are just sitting there and they're just sitting above my head and doing nothing, I know that there's almost no breeze whatsoever. I feel still.
I don't think we can always trust our senses. I mean, this is why in empirical science, things have to be repeatedly proven over and over.
Yeah.
You can't just say something once. And you can't be 100% sure of anything.
Okay. Well, as I said, I mean, if you can find an experiment that shows water to form any other shape than when at rest, than level, at rest, it has to be at rest.
But you're introducing the assumption that the globe is at rest. That's what I'm saying. That's the fundamental disagreement, right?
Well, no, because I'm not. The assumption is that it's moving. The common sense says it's not moving.
It's not.
No, I don't assume. Like all ancient cultures, remember, all ancient cultures and my senses. Okay, my senses are being. I'm finding my true senses now.
I mean,
They were robbed.
Everyone assumes. I mean, everyone has basic assumptions. And what I like about flat earthers is they test basic assumptions. Right? That's what you've been saying to me. That there's a lie.
Yeah. Well, that gravity will eventually, a ball big enough will eventually start to pull things to it.
That's a basic assumption. Now, you're also making a basic assumption. You're saying you have very good reasons that you've changed your assumption. But it doesn't mean you're not making basic assumptions. You have evidence, you have reasons that you've changed your assumptions.
Okay.
So you're told.
Okay, so the assumption, you're saying that I'm assuming that we're not moving.
Yeah,
If you,
it's based on, in
well,
your mind, it's based on good evidence.
Okay.
Right?
So now I asked you this earlier, I didn't ask you this, but I put this to you, and I didn't think you would want to come back to it, and that is that if I asked you, you assume that you're moving.
Yes.
What direction are you moving in now?
I have no idea.
No, because your senses your senses aren't telling you that you're moving. Eh? If you went on a plane or a funfair ride or a taxi or a rickshaw or anything, the moment the rickshaw rider picks up his prongs, that you're going to feel that in your butt. The moment he moves forward, you're going to feel that in your butt.
No. So they do this. So one of the things scientists are interested in is artificial gravity. Have you ever looked at this? Centrifugal.
Yeah.
Is a similar principle. We're talking about spinning the bucket of water.
Yeah.
But what they found is that the wider you spin, the less noticeable. Is it your kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear him
I
crying.
saw the download.
Yeah.
The less noticeable the spin is on your body.
Yeah.
Right? The reason that what they're trying to work out is how wide you would have to spin a space station in space in order for it to be comfortable for the human body to not feel the sensations.
All right.
And the principle also carries over in a gravity model, in a globe model.
Yeah.
If the scale is large enough,
Yeah.
we won't be able to feel it. I mean, what I'm saying is you can prove this empirically. If you and I got in a giant roller coaster that spun a very wide range, we wouldn't be able to feel it. Actually, if it was wide enough, we wouldn't be able to. And
Well, we'll have to accept that's a theory until we could go on that ride together.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is the other way also there is ways to make sense of it.
Okay.
In each model.
Okay, so I want to change tack slightly with you. Whoops.
Sure. Yeah.
If I may. I want to change tack slightly with you, and that is to say that when I was a youngster, I got a lot of Bible study, and I said to my I was Anglican, grew up Anglican, and I said to the preacher, like, why does the Bible say that the earth is flat, immovable, with a much smaller local experience than the one that my science teacher is saying, which I believed. I was into the bucket and gravity thing, and I went along with that, and I was only too happy to poo-poo religion. In fact, it surprised me that religion was so happy or comfortable with scientists coming up with these ideas that were really just theories. So how do you, as a Christian, juxtapose for me, as I said, as a teenager, as a youngster, I could see that it was saying that the earth is flat. Now that when I first found that the earth was flat for real, I went back to the Bible and said, gosh, let me go and see what else the Bible was saying that might have been right, that I needed to be paying attention to. So Genesis says, earth came first. God separates the waters from the waters. A rakia, or a firmament, or a roof, or a lid, or some other covering is on top, keeping the waters from the waters. And then on day 4, I think, the sun and the moon are created, which is nothing like the science fiction that we're given of a Big Bang, which is invented by the Roman Catholic Church, telling us that 14 billion years ago. It's George Lemaitre, Catholic priest. Oh no, not according to Wikipedia. It's a Roman Catholic.
This number was Methodist, Roman Catholic Church voted.
Of the Big Bang, or George Lemaitre. I think, unless I'm wrong. Yeah. I mean, the Catholic are the biggest investors in, or the Vatican is the biggest investors in satellites, in ground-based telescopes in the world. And yet we never see any photographs or any images. They're always from NASA. And all of what NASA provide us with is some sort of CGI when you really boil it down to what they're really giving us. So how do you square that? Or have you, like most people in theology, gone, the old people who wrote the book didn't quite fully understand the nature of space?
I think, look, so first principle is that I think that everything in the scriptures we have to trust 100%. So
I'm with that.
In the doctrine of inerrancy, so whatever was finalized at the time that the author finished writing it was 100% error-free for our good.
Yeah.
For human to know these doctrines. I always start with that because I think that one of the biggest problems in theology today is people not trusting God's word.
So what if, because the guy, I'm not a big Bible guy. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
What I'm specializing in, because I'm studying the Hebrew Bible, I'm studying the Old Testament. I know very well what rakia means. Is how do you interpret the text of the Bible? I mean, this is a challenging thing to. And I think that Genesis 1, for instance, is about the creation of the world. It's about the creation of the world.
Yeah.
But I think there are also some other things that are going on there that are often ignored. And I think that the main point of Genesis 1 is about the preparation of the promised lands for humans to live in.
Yeah.
And that there is lots of room within the text because the text isn't answering all the questions we want it to answer.
Yeah.
It's answering the questions we need it to answer.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be certain things about reality that the text just doesn't address. I mean, it would be the same thing if I told you to make a painting of this part.
Yeah.
There would be certain details or features that are left out.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to highlight what was truly important about experiencing this part.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the authors of the Hebrew Bible are doing the exact same thing when they write the text. They're highlighting certain things that we need to know, certain things that we need to see. And they're not necessarily doing what we might think of, like when you open a history textbook or something.
Yeah.
With that said, I think it's really important that we don't deny the historicity of the text. The text is historically true. It's really real. I don't agree with your interpretation that the Bible says the earth is flat. I'd be curious what passages you're relying on there.
Okay. There's some guys who do a lot of Bible study. That's not my area, I'll be honest. So they pulled out 200 passages that allude to or directly kind of align themselves with a flat earth. The closest you get to a ball earth is that God looks down on the circle of earth is one description, and that you can get from on a flat thing, but not a ball. Yeah.
I don't think the Bible is very much concerned with the shape of the world.
What if I was to say to you though that it matters absolutely that if the Creator, the Most High, created this place for us to kind of come and have some divine experience of, then to have it minimized by science to say, no, it wasn't that created, it was more over billions of years, things smashed together, and then we had some chemistry, and then we had some furry things come out of the water, and then eventually we had some asteroid strikes, which meant that the dinosaurs went away and the marsupials came ahead, and over 60 million years, you emerged. That, my friends, is nothing like God created you in God's image. Nothing at all. And so for me, why as a child I struggled with my Bible studies was because the science was telling me something completely different, which was that this is not a created environment, it is just lucky. So I went through all of my adult life saying there is no God, it's not created, it's just an explosion happened in a scrapyard and a Ferrari drove out. That's all. That's what we're saying, So for me, the disingenuous aspect of saying you're not special, and the Bible's elements of saying you're the center of creation, God is right above you, right here above you, or right here with you, is one of the most important deceptions that I think more people believe in gravity today than in any of the big religions, that's for sure. And gravity is an unproven theory. So it's quite a big stretch. It's almost like, for me, a form of idolatry to believe in a ball that God would not have created, because actually, if you want a perfect day, you go down to the lake, and you find that the water is all full, it's all contained. You could create inside of that an island, and in that island you could have civilizations develop and so on. They never need to know that they're inside of a lake, because they never have the capacity to travel all the way to the edge of that lake. Or when they eventually do in the 1950s, you shut the edge of the lake down through the thing called the Antarctic Treaty that 40 countries all signed up to and have never broken. Yeah, so the possibility that we've been diminished by, you may not like me saying this, but originally by our religions and then by our government and their science, is absolutely anti-God and anti-Christ and anti the truth about what we really are. So this is why I'm here on a Sunday trying to tell people this, and that this is, because I know you've got no more time now, this is my kind of final pass for you guys to take away with you and think about perhaps for the rest of your lives. And that is that the sun, whenever you see a depiction of Christ, you see him with a halo behind his head or a sun behind his head. And when they talk about the Son of God, they're talking about the sun in the sky. I think that our religions, including the one I come from, Christianity, is hiding pagan worship of the sun, of a whole bunch of other things.
I mean, if you read the Bible, that can't be true. Unless you deny it.
Well, no, I'm going to get to that, because I think the scriptures are absolutely imperative.
No,
and I think, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go further, and then you guys can walk away and say what a nutcase I really am, and that is that. No, well, here's my, well, thanks. But here's the thing, I think that they misspelled the word Christian. You see, I think it's meant to be an M, not an N, and the word is Christ. I am. You see, because I think the Christ is you, and you. I know this is the hard part, and that is that for me it's defamatory on my beliefs as a Christian to say that we might be the Christ, that the Savior is you, that you are here to save yourself, and that yeah, well, no, because I think I'll just say to you that I think that the story of Christ is the story of you, and the story of how to make yourself excellent in the way that Christ did. You know, I won't get into the debate about whether Christ historically was a real man or not. I'm willing to accept that he may well have been a real man, but that's not that's not the debate I want to have. My thing is that for me it's like an instruction manual for the humankind of how to either take themselves to Sodom and Gomorrah and spend their entire times lost there, or raise themselves to a much higher vibration, a much higher place in the Christ, or in the heaven which is in the head above here. That this is where it's a.
Me personally, I have no. I'm helpless to help myself. I need Christ.
Well, I think that's what. Well, that my brother is what I think that religion does. Is that it says. You pick any religion you like, and I'm not picking on your religion at all, but pick any religion you like. Say Catholic, you've got to have the Father as your intercessory. No, so pick on that one, because you've got to have the Father, the priest, to be your intercessory, to be the one in between you and in your relationship with God. When it's like, no, it's the relationship that you have with yourself when you put your head down on the pillow. And then when you eventually die, whatever you take with you, you take with you. I think there is an afterlife. I think it's eternal. I think that it's never ending, and that we're here for an experience of ourselves.
I agree with you. I mean, the Catholic message is saying is that we need our system.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
But that's not what the Bible says. That's not what the gospel says. And what the gospel says is that we all have screwed up ourselves.
That's
on
cool.
our own.
What?
And we need Christ to come into our world, to come into our lives.
Go on.
It's a direct thing.
Go on.
There's God coming down.
There's one mediator between God and man. That is Jesus Christ. Hey, one more sentence before we go.
Okay.
I got one sentence. Since it's Sunday, this is a great one sentence, all right?
Saturday. It is Saturday. Sorry. Yeah, my mistake.
But it's a great message for Saturday, too. If you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, and you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved.
Yeah, I know my dying mother wanted me to say that. In 2011, she wanted me to say that exact kind of same thing, and And as much as I would want to do that, I stand here on a Sunday sometimes and I talk to other people about flat earth, you know, non-Christians about flat earth. And I realized when I first started doing that is that if I come here wearing a Christian cross and saying that I'm a Christian, then I am choosing a club. I'm choosing a group that is unchoosing other brothers of Christ or other brothers of God, other children of the Creator, if you like. And that's the problem I have with any group, is to say, yeah, and they may not like, at night they'll go home and say, those Christian boys, they don't know everything. And at night, the Christian boys go home, those Muslim boys, they don't know anything. And then within the sect of each of those, that group, they don't know everything. And that particular, the Seventh-day Adventists, they don't know everything. Or they've got a particular part of it incorrectly interpreted. And that's to their detriment. And I think this is the difficulty that I'd always had with religion, is that it means I have to de-choose or unchoose you or your belief system, if you like. And then we get into that kind of debate about, like, well, only surely one can be correct. At the end of the day, there's only one true interpretation of what God was intending to say or whatever.
That's kind of what you're saying with the science here, right? There is a truth.
There is a truth, and that is that we build with levels of water, and if we try to measure for 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles, 200 miles, we can find nothing bending. And other than we think we see it bending, but when we get there we realize that was just a trick of the eye. So, no, we've gotten so far, Nikola Tesla said it himself, he said modern science, and he's referring to Einstein and others, modern science has gotten carried away with a bunch of formula that had started to have no bearing or relationship to reality. And I'm afraid that that's what's happened with E equals mc squared and the G constant and all this sort of stuff that we're given in science, is that the maths says it can work, but the physics in the lab says, sorry, it's too big for me to experiment for you. That's why, and they'll, you know, why have they never put an astronaut in a vacuum chamber on Earth? Because they can't actually survive in a vacuum. You know, which is why, well, I've looked for it. I know you'd think they do. We all thought they did, and we've probably seen it in a Hollywood movie. But in reality, we can't see it.
It's in
Gravity with Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah. This is how they combine what we think they can do with stuff that they do in Hollywood.
Outside the Bible, a lot of my reality is Hollywood, for sure.
Yeah, and you know that. But you know what the ancient Druids, European Druids, used to make their wands from what tree? The holly tree, which is Hollywood. There's a reason why you've got Hollywood in America, because it's wizardry, and in this country they got Pinewood Studios, which was before Hollywood, and your pineal gland is what they're after. They're trying to stop you connecting to your most high creator, yourself. That's
Jesus said a lot of hard things. One of the really hard things he said is that no man can come to me unless the Father draws him, and I will raise him up on the last day. And I want to leave you with this.
Yeah.
I think God may be drawing you to him. I don't know.
I'm connected, man.
With us being here at this, because me and him been talking flat earth, and we got a buddy who's
into it.
He's very into it.
And so I just think this is a divine providence that we're here with the gospel. Two guys that were saved. I mean, I've been saved 10 years, tattoos on my arms.
Fantastic.
Now I am. I think God's drawing you. I think you can put that on your heart going forward.
Yeah, man.
Think about that, man.
Because thank you, brother. Because you know what, for me, even though we may disagree over some of the nuance, what I now know, which I wouldn't have said 4 or 5 years ago, is that there is a God, there is a creator, and that creator is all powerful and magnificent and loving on a degree, on a level that is beyond anything that we can comprehend. How exactly we're connected to that, I don't know for sure, but I know for sure that I am connected to that most high creator of ours. And my mission, if you like, my purpose on this life is to try and help the rest of others in humanity to, in the same way that you want to go around and spread the good word, the gospel and so on. Well, I've never felt passionate about spreading the good word of the Bible in the same way as I feel passionate about spreading the good word of there is a God, there is a creator. You and I are brothers in that creator. We might call it Christ, Muhammad, Buddha, you know, a bunch of other Shiva, other names that other people kind of cling to, but they still believe in essence the same thing, that there is a reason to be good because there is a higher purpose to us being here. And it's not to be materialist in the Sodom and Gomorrah, as I said, kind of mindset of, you know, shopping and just trying to be the best salesman and make the most money and have the best holidays and all that kind of stuff. That's exactly the opposite of what we're meant to be here for. You know, so Dave.
Dave, Josh. Nice to meet you.
Likewise, Josh. Cody, yeah.
All right.
It's been great.
You're on YouTube.
I'm on YouTube on Trinity 4, Trinity 4. Yeah, I've taken the Trinity, the heart, body, and soul.
Can I watch this later?
It's live, so you can go and check it out now.
All right.
All right, Cody. Lovely to meet you guys. Good going. Good lives to you, brothers. Harry, this is Harry.
Nice meeting you. All right.
Thanks for getting that, Harry. Cheers, guys. Thanks for your time, eh? Appreciate it. Much respect. Hey, guys. Oh, is she? Oh, really? Fantastic.
Okay, just
Yeah.
let you remember that.
Hey, baby boy.
I had to, I did a bit of my own activism.
I saw you. What's that?
Alexander scratched my
Yeah.
foot. Someone said, oh, this is just the Flat Earth Society.
Just.
And I went, no. Hello. I said, no. When you research Flat Earth, you don't go to
Yeah.
the Flat Earth Society. So whatever you do, when you go and do a bit of research,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
skip the Flat Earth Society bit.
I've got, guys, this is a funny thing. 10 years ago, I got sacked from my job. I got sacked from my job in local government. People who think that I'm a spy, I hope you're listening to this. It's a matter of actual record, matter of fact. Enfield City Council, they sacked me for, I had a difficult member of staff. She'd had 100 days of sickness in 3 years. And anyway, she'd been off for 2 weeks, comes back, I've got to have a return to work meeting with her, and it goes badly. She accuses me of bullying her in the meeting, and this lesbian manager of mine didn't like me very much. She was a new manager. She's come in and did everything. They spent 3 or 4 months building a case against me. I was suspended and eventually sacked. She's in the park just over here. Unbelievable how these things happen. The city is so big, and you know what? Her manager, which was a level above her, who was part of the sacking, also a lesbian, happened to go past me on an underground escalator just a few months ago. How big is London? Millions and millions of people, and yet I've had these people present themselves to me, and now here I am promoting talking about Flat Earth, and woman who thinks, or whatever, I won't say anything, I don't know. That's a little aside, but it's been 2009 is when it happened, actually, and I was fired. I appealed the sacking, and it was overturned the same day I had the appeal. They were like, yeah, no, we got it wrong here, but I'd said in the appeal hearing that I'd had enough, I was fed up, I was willing to go. They said, okay, well, you said you were willing to go, we'd like you to take that offer up. And I walked away. That's the last time I had a permanent job. I did some contracting for, some local authorities after that, but it's the last permanent salary I had 10 years ago now. And it's all part of the journey, man. It's part of the journey that took me here. Hey, bro, how are you going? You don't mind if I film you, do you? You don't mind if I film you, do you? I'm on my YouTube. Do you speak English?
No. Very little.
Oh, okay. Where are you from?
Canada.
From Canada?
Yeah.
Oh, so French is your first language?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't speak French, unfortunately. You mind if I film you?
I prefer that.
Oh, okay, all right. I'll film me then.
Okay.
Have you looked into this?
A little bit, but I'm just waiting for my friend.
Oh,
We are
okay, all right.
On
Oh.
a tour in London, and we have a very strict horaire, but he
Oh, you're on tour?
seemed like
Ah.
he want to answer different questions. So
Okay,
I just wait.
cool. Hey friends, I'm live here in Speaker's Corner. In London, obviously. Hyde Park, Speaker's Saturday. Harry and I thought we'd come out here and do a little bit of work. Get a few people's attention. 80 meters that way, in that direction, earlier on, but we weren't getting great traction. So I said, let's move. I want to get closer to that woman because I want her to see me anyway. I don't care. Or rather, it's past now. It's not something that I'm going to I'm not going to trouble myself with. In fact, I'd be more than happy if you went back to my old employers and told them what a good thing it was they got rid of me. Not only am I a government spy, but I also think the earth is flat. Which is almost a crime against humanity. Far worse than being a government spy. Blow their minds. Do I care? Do I care? Yes, I care. I think I care very much, which is why I'm here. Hello. But it does get to feel a little surreal when you're out here doing this, and if you're thinking about doing it, can I recommend that you do it? And then even if you can't do that, take a little bit of this and tag your street. Well, it doesn't have to be a street. Tag a street near you. Or if they're doing the building works, you know, where's those hoarding boards? Those are good. Yeah. Hi guys, Squirrel Cyper. It's nice to see you. Authentic Intent, is that Josh? Hey Josh. Nice to see you, my friend. Very nice to see you. It'd be nice to have you here with your professor suit and a little table. Oh, that's an attractive lady, don't you think? I mean, it's just obviously nature is beautiful, and hey Harry, I got you live right now.
I'm saying on camera, the majority of scientists or people studying science that I speak to, I can almost predict they're going to storm off at some point. Because there are, when they're saying that there's more facts and there's more evidence, well, can you give me some? And by the end of that discussion, they haven't given one. And I'm saying, well, you haven't given me a fact yet. No, I think we've got better go. No, run off. I just find it astounding. Somebody who's studying science will not stay there and discuss to the end of the conversation the validity of what we're talking about.
But when they go home, they'll say, these guys don't understand this particular aspect of our knowledge. You know, they're not willing to accept. They're not willing to accept that we have this insight that they don't have.
Yeah. Excuse me, guys. Can I get your response to this? Do you think the government tells you the truth?
Hey man.
We were told some people are bringing up
Hello.
when we were all naive,
Hello, baby boy.
we were told we lived in this world. Water. Imagine how adults with independent thinking. How can water perform the exterior of a ball?
Exactly. How come the water
How is the water staying in the board?
Yeah.
How is it dropping down?
Exactly, right? Take your water bottle. I mean, look, there's always
Yeah,
gonna.
look, gravity.
Before you answer
Will it be-
gravity, you could actually be honest with yourself. See when you come back to gravity. Do you think that's a
Hey,
program
baby
response
boy.
by you?
No program. It's just because what we've been taught, it's just okay, it's a program.
Yeah, he's honest. Honest young man.
So we can't prove gravity, can we? Because it's only a theory.
Exactly.
And we believe it, but we can't see it anymore.
How do you think the earth was made?
Well, I don't know. It may have been created. Designed.
Give the Big Bang.
No, I don't know the
No.
Big Bang.
Do you know the Big Bang was given to us by the Roman Catholic Church? There was a Roman Catholic priest invented the theory called the Big Bang, and now everybody just takes it as real, as though, yep, that's actually what happened.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So
Can we separate these two guys?
Yeah. Oh wait, now we're going to interview separately. So we try not to kind of push what the model of the Earth might be. What we try and do is we say with what we can measure locally. So I can see that water is level across my lake, like from 1 mile across my lake. I can take a laser, fire that laser, it's level. We've done the Bedford Levels experiment, which is over 10 miles, and that proves to be level. That's level. The Suez Canal, that's 100 miles long, and it's still level. So when you look at the formula for a ball the size of our Earth meant to be, it should be curving a certain amount every mile. Every 10 miles, every 100 miles. Eventually, after 6,000 miles, you would have gone a quarter of the way around the globe, which has a radius of 4,000 miles. So essentially, you've got to do all of that curving. Over 10 miles, it's 800 inches. That's the maths. And that doesn't exist on Earth.
What do you think surrounds the Earth? Do you think Antarctica surrounds the Earth?
I don't. I don't know. I think that water has to be contained. So if we're in a pond, there's some containment. We could call it the Antarctic, or it could be that it's just like infinite land that goes on. Friends, eh? It's infinite land, maybe. But there's things that we don't like to say it is. It's the same as like, we all accept as we've grown up with, as Harry was saying, at 5 years old, we get given a ball in class and they say, this is where you live on this spinning ball. But before 5 years old, actually, you've watched lots of Disney shows or Warner Brothers shows with a spinning globe and you go, that's me, that's where I live, right? Your parents are only too happy, that's you, that's where you live. Now I'm saying, well, hold on. We're told that the Earth is floating on a cushion called time-space. That's time, man-made, space, man-made, which we can't measure. So we're giving this two invisible forces the power to hold our Earth in space like a trampoline. Like if they've ever modeled it for you, they'll put like two balls on a trampoline and say, look, you've got a heavy ball in the middle, that's the sun, and then a lighter ball, that's the Earth. And I'll spin it and it'll go around the trampoline a couple of times and then it'll go into the sun. It'll smash into the sun, right? But that's what they tell us, that we're on, some kind of trampoline. Same as gravity. Gravity is meant to be the bucket and a string and water. No, it's not. There's nothing material about gravity and there's nothing material about time and space. So to say you float on time and space and then say I can't imagine a flat Earth that would be infinite, it means we're not thinking. Okay. No. I believe in God. Yes. I don't know. I mean, I believe there's let's say a creator. I believe there's a creator of this whole Earth.
So you're not really assigned to a religion?
Sorry?
You're not assigned to a religion?
No, I don't assign myself to religion. I recommend not being assigned to any religion, including scientism. Because, the moment I choose a religion, if I was to choose Islam, I'd have to unchoose everybody else's religion, right? So only one religion can be right, if it's true that any religion is right. I prefer the option that none of the religions are right. That's my preferred option. But that there is a God, that there is a creator. You could call it Allah, you can call it Buddha. I don't mind. To me, it's only a name and it's only a word. But the truth is that we agree I think we agree, or I feel anyway, that there is a higher power. Do you think there is? Okay, so we're on the same page with that, but science wouldn't have you that. So the science that people defend to say Big Bang, to say evolution, these are all theories and they're all against God, because God created us or created this and reality. But science says a Big Bang and a lucky strike and a bunch of explosions and the moon smashing into the Earth 4 billion years ago, creating its spin and all the right magnetic and the Goldilocks thing and all that, that's all very lucky. And then there were marsupials because the dinosaurs got wiped out, and so you came along through Africa, through all of that. That's against God. That's against the Most High Creator's own words. In any of the big texts, they'll say the Creator created this for us purposefully, so on. Not just like a lucky strike. I don't mind if you film me. That's cool if you film me. You must film me, please.
I do have brain. I am now a flat.
Thanks, brother. All right, guys. All the best. Peace, man.
He was brilliant.
Yeah, good. This is Speaker's Corner.
Yes.
We've come to speak.
But my English not really well.
It's good.
Yeah.
Hey guys, so I've got some kind of funny thing happening on the screen here. What's it all about? Hi you guys, I can't really read the comments right now, okay? Again, if you saw my phone, you'd understand why the heck that was. I'm just trying to get my screen to show itself. Normally, is Josh still in the house?
Don't you believe that? But I seen Superman flying over New York.
My phone has got some other feature happening on it. Hello, man. Oh,
We don't have any real pictures of Earth from space. It's not real photograph.
cute. Let's see, I can tell.
The blue marble
Friends.
that was created by Robert
Is Harry
Siemens.
doing his thing?
And he's a data visualizer. Now he stays for not photographs.
Those two Christian dudes I spoke to just now, they were very interesting, and I know there's obviously a huge flat Earth Christian contingent.
And the camera restriction around it all.
And I have no harm. I want to tell Muslims and the Christians and everybody else the same truth. It's not about having some any of those. I was just saying to those lads now, it's not about having one favoritism thing going on, with people, with groups and religions and so on, belief systems. So I'm speaking to them now, but I'm saying, this is hard to accept, but our religion is our jailer, and of course for them it was apostasy, I think, or it was a horrid thing for me to say almost. They took it really well, but that they are Christ. No, the Christ isn't a real man. I mean, I'm not saying Christ wasn't a real man. I don't know that he was. I'm not sure that he was. Maybe he was. Maybe there's been a number of exemplary humans that have existed over history, and it's that story that we're looking to replicate. I know some of the guys like Zoom Truth and Josh, I think, are guys who've come from a very strong Christian kind of background, but maybe realize that yes, it's it's also a mistake to get hooked up on one set belief system. And so I say this to the Christian flat earthers, that you guys have to realize that it's oh no, you don't have to realize. Actually, fuck it, you don't actually have to realize at all. I mean, it doesn't matter if you do or don't. Well, I don't know if it matters. I'm not trying to make it out like it has to be that you reject anything or whatever. It doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be anything, actually. Let it be what it is. But just know, I think that it's about you being excellent. It's about you finding your excellence. Finding your excellence.
But maybe he was killed for something else. We don't really know.
Are they talking about JFK? I'm just doing a little tag. Hey, just by the way, I've had a few stop-start days on the activism trail. It's been a bit hit and miss for me this week. Yeah, it's been a bit hit and miss. Let me see if I can get these two young ladies to pay me any attention. Nope, they're on their way. Frightened off. So intimidating. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a bit hit and miss in the old activism department. I've tried to do more than I've managed to achieve in some respects. So technical issues have been a part of it. Hey, mate, that's some impressive art you got there, mate. All right, all the best. Have a good day. Check it out. Check it out. I need to do a bit more tagging here. I think put my charger on. What? Quite a good idea coming down here on a Saturday, actually, because you don't obviously have all the shouting of the Jesus and the Muhammad guys. Hey, honey. Hey. Hey, Zizi. Yay! Just need to put my charger on. This is my wife, for those who hadn't seen my wife before, Andrea. She very kindly came along with me today because I am absolutely gutted when I'm not with my boy. This little boy. Oh my. Whoa. Throw. Sorry, I dropped my phone. Sorry, I dropped the phone when I tried to catch your ball. Yay, good throw.
Somebody knows this story, but keeping.
I'm gonna just put my charger on now.
What's the reason for keeping?
Well, that's you're 52.
Oh, here we go, Harry. Yeah, this is Harry's answer. I have a different answer to him.
Also, let's just say that piece of paper there. Just a whole of it. It's always further back here. We don't get to see it because we think space is out there. It was further land, possibly. Nobody's been to space. Do you remember the Challenger disaster in America where 7 astronauts were killed? The rocket exploded mid-air.
I don't remember.
Well, you can search the Challenger disaster, astronauts still alive. You see they're still alive. There's nobody on these rockets. It's an illusion.
Right.
People are living in...
The magician's trick.
Yeah, it's very, very...
Magic trick.
I'm 36 years old. If I learn is a lie in this age, after I don't forgive myself.
I was 46 when I learned. I'm 51 now.
Forgive yourself that you find out 36. I was 55 before I...
Yeah, you all get.
And my mother and father, they were born... Turn around again.
Yeah. True thing.
Alright, nice to meet you.
What's your name?
My name is Ömer.
Omar.
Ömer. From Turkey, Istanbul.
Istanbul, lovely.
Yes,
I like Istanbul. I've been to the Blue Mosque.
Really?
Oh, I love it there. Hagia Sophia. Yeah, it's beautiful, man.
My video will be on my channel, John Smith Global. In YouTube.
YouTube, yeah.
Can you write?
We got a card? I might have it.
It's quite free.
All right. Yeah.
Well, that ice cream looks good. What to do with that?
I got this little feature come up on my phone, which is rather annoying.
So I'll put it on in about a week's time.
Can you believe it? If you didn't hear me say it earlier on, the boss who sacked me 10 years ago, and I don't have a problem with lesbians, but there were 3 lesbians and 1 homosexual man in the kangaroo court when they sacked me. So it wasn't. I mean, I got no issue with all of that. So it wasn't that. It was just I was in social services at the time, and there's a lot of homosexuality and lesbianism in the ranks of in social care. That's not me being biased. I'm just telling you what I found. Anyway, so she sacked me, and she is in the park, not here in Indian, but right next to where we set up. Just how's that for crazy world that we live in? Oh, flat earthers are everywhere. The whole world is flat. The whole world is flat. Your religion is science. Your religion is gravity. Oh, damn, you didn't get to see her face. That would have been, that was a shame. The girl in the mustard or brown or whatever, she was proper triggered. Proper triggered.
Make the
Oh well. I wanted to do like a, you know, when the weather's like this, you go, shit. Why aren't we having a flat Earth Frisbee competition? We don't have to call it the Flat Earth Frisbee competition, but you know, wherever you live, you could set up a little Frisbee thing, you know, and Frisbees only work on a flat Earth. Isn't that true? Oh no, Frisbees work on a globe because look, I can throw a Frisbee, proof. That's it. Fit old man, older man, impressive. What? Well, no, what do you mean? There's another. Oh my God! It's, you know, I can see another one. There's another one there. Another one of the lesbian crew that sacked me, or the team. It's amazing. Thick as thieves. 10 years.
So have you had good conversations then?
Yeah, I've had a few, Harry. Aye, I've had a few.
Have you?
I have, to be sure. I had,
Granddad's.
yeah, I got about 30 people popping around on the old thing we call it. You can say hello if you want to.
Hi guys.
It's Harry. I think, what's your channel called? John Smith or something?
John Smith Lies.
Aye.
No, John Smith Globe Live.
John Smith Globe Live. There you have it, from the horse's mouth. John Smith's Globe Live. Or John Smith's Globes Live. I don't know. Yeah, I might well have to confront these women actually at some point. That would be fantastic to do that. We're not getting the stopping power here, you know. We're not getting the traction that I'd hoped for. The earth is flat. Hi, Dave and Harry. I can't read this very well. Please do, Dave. Oh, what is that in response to the Frisbee thing? I think the Frisbee thing is a good idea. You know, just getting people together for a bit of fun rather than having to be, you know, sucking on alcohol. And I ain't nothing wrong with it. I'm not, you know, if you drink alcohol. But, you know, just to do something different and break it away from it being just a few blokes and women getting together for... Excuse me, can I ask you about your shirt, your t-shirt? Oh, okay. What is the illumination? Effingo. Oh, it's just that I thought maybe it was some kind of anti-Illuminati statement you were making. You don't know anything about that. Where are you from? South Africa?
Yeah.
Oh, I could tell just from those few words. Where about? I'm from Durban.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
Your accent's a bit Australian.
Yeah, a bit Australian. People say that actually, but it's because I've been away. Well, one, I was Durban, an English boy, and two, I've been away 25 years. I've been in the UK 25 years. And how long have you been away?
About
10 years, okay. Fairly new then. Settled in,
yeah, it takes some time.
doesn't it? What do you do here?
Just working for advertising.
Oh my gosh, propaganda. That's...
I do that. I see that.
Oh, okay.
But it
I
is,
see.
it is
Yeah, it is. It is mostly propaganda. Are you old enough to go national service? Did you do national service?
I went to university.
I did 2 years, 1986, 1987. 2 years.
I finished in 1999.
Okay. Just on the cusp.
I remember we got our papers,
Oh, really? And then they cancelled it. Yeah.
and then I went to university and then transferred.
Wow. I had a great conversation with another South African dude on on the South Bank just the other day, actually, about this subject and about a bunch of other subjects. Because I wrote a book about my time in the war in Angola, and so it got me like a lot of publicity in this country, some publicity in this country, and so I ended up getting close to the the establishment. I had a few meetings and a few, this and that and what have you, and so that was just 5 years ago. And then I found out that 9/11 was done by like the government or some dark deep state, or, it wasn't the Muslims and stuff like that. Have you heard that before? It's obvious. So it's called false flag terrorism, when they attack themselves to kind of give themselves justification to go and do other things, right? So this is going on all over the place. And in everywhere I've found the hidden hand of some controlling agent, rather than it's just simply terrorists or people with an agenda, you know what I mean? And then when I was in Joburg on a book tour in 2015, I got a mate of mine in Norwood or somewhere. He's like, have you ever done DMT? Have you ever tried DMT? And I didn't know anything about it. I just DMT trip, and I found that, oh my God, I'm part of some great creation. And then a few weeks after I come back from that DMT trip in May 2015, I found flat Earth. That the Earth is probably not a ball. That the science of ball Earth is all based or predicated on theory, supposition, and NASA. Okay. So I think that's my little boy there. I got children in university, and then that little boy there. When I discovered I'd been lied to about everything, I went back and my wife and I, we thought we'd try again and have another baby. No, the history is written by the victor, but it's not the British that won. Yeah, it's not the Americans that won. There is some other victor that is writing this history. So this idea that we can look back 2,000 years and say that Jesus walked on water, not true. How do you know it's true? I'm sure you guys don't believe that. No, but you'll believe it if your history teacher says Eratosthenes 2,500 years ago put a stick in the ground there, 500 miles away put a stick in the ground there, and he calculated that the earth was round because of that.
One thing is traceable in written documents, and one thing is just a story.
Well, I was
video
okay.
Evidence,
Okay.
And we would believe that there's
Okay.
a tablet of stone where the calculations are written on, then I see that as similar.
Okay. I was just interviewing some Christian dudes who are here studying at Cambridge University. They're studying Christianity or their Bible or whatever in Cambridge University. And for them, the Bible is 100% correct. So I could bring you, say, the version, I was brought up in South Africa. So I could bring you a South African history book and say, this is the true history. But someone else would say, no, that's not the history we were taught in Angola about South Africa. The same is true in Germany. How did they get the Jewish people to be so unpopular? But they told those people a certain story. How are they getting the Muslims to be so unpopular in this country? Well, they're telling them that they're doing 9/11, they're bombing up their railways, and they're doing all of this. Well, what happens if it's your government that's doing those attacks on the people to give them someone to be fearful of, some group? And saying, trust me, I'm telling you the truth, trust this media. You can trust this media because they got Bill Clinton into trouble over the Monica Lewinsky scandal. You can trust the media because they've told you the truth about some event that happened. But I honestly don't think that you can trust the media really to tell you anything anymore. And for
the thing is, in my opinion, at that level, at the top, it's not like at that level, it's also different entities who are fighting.
Do you think that there is like one ruling class that's kind of in charge of the government? Like, do you think there's like one central organization that spins its control over the whole world?
Yes.
Like, who's behind this?
Yes. So the front face of it would be things like the United Nations, World Health Organization, all of these sort of global, as we call it, global sort of control bodies will be the front face.
It's like Google, Facebook.
Correct. But you see, Google and Facebook, those big companies like that have come later are already creations of the deep state. Like DARPA funded Google. I think Facebook is probably the same sort of thing, that they were always designed as control tools. Whether or not it's like partially funded by some billionaire who's in on it, Soros or the Rothschilds or the Morgan Stanley people, or there are. Well, I would say that if you were playing a game of Monopoly, then the most important guy in the game is the banker, right? But he may not be the game maker. You know, he may not be the company that made the game. They made the game with a banker in it. And they appointed or they anointed certain people to say, you know, whether it's the Jewish people or the Jewish bankers or the Americans or the British or the Germans at a particular time have been anointed and said, you're the people that are going to carry this story forward. You're going to keep doing the work of keeping this slave farm or the consciousness under a spell. To keep them down and keep them from ever realizing what they really are. Because once you realize this, you don't want to go work 9 to 5. You want to work. You want to be growing fruit and feeding your family and doing sun gazing and, you know, being barefoot. But you want to be productive. You know, there's nothing. You know, there's no TV for a guy like me. You know, I don't want to sit and watch TV. TV is mind control anyway. So I'm much more interested in being a creator. Yeah, Netflix for sure. Good comment.
It's my conspiracy Twitter. And I was basically saying that YouTube, and this is the Karl Marx quote transformed, he was saying religion or what? Or God, religion is the
opiate of the masses.
Nowadays, YouTube is the opiate of the masses. And how they structure the algorithm in such a way, you click on one video, the next you click on the next, you know, 5 hours later. So there is entire departments in the company that whose sole job it is to keep people distracted, to create a video with with the time, with everything similar, so they can click on the next one, and you see ads, and then you get more ads. That's how they make money. That's the business. And even YouTube doesn't make money. YouTube just distract ad revenues. YouTube never made. And then it gets even worse in the sense that they now have been brought out that they actually, it's not an algorithm, they actually control what gets recommended or not. So if you look at a certain type of videos, and this was actually a conspiracy video specifically,
and flat Earth, even worse. Yeah, we know this.
It's documented that if you're in that rabbit hole of looking at a certain type of videos, they now don't recommend what the normal algorithm would recommend you. They now recommend you some other videos, so you don't.
Debunking videos.
So now,
yep.
I think we, in the past couple of years, we were the last ones to kind of see
Yes.
Gather information if you wanted to, and now.
Yes.
And then you see things like deep faking, which is like they basically make you appear on video saying something completely
that's crazy. There's one of Obama saying, and there's also one of Trump.
Yeah, and it's completely fake, and we'll arrive at a point we don't even know what's fake.
Exactly.
What do you think of vaccinations?
Exactly. I think vaccinations are mostly harmful, unnecessary, harmful. I think they're unnecessary. Huh? No, my child's never been vaccinated and doesn't have a birth certificate. I won't, because a birth certificate is signing ownership over to the state. When we got our birth certificate, our parents were informing the state that they had a new ward to take ownership of.
What if he wants a passport?
He's got a passport. You can get a passport without a birth certificate. You could say that, well, the birth certificate is traded on the stock exchange, and when they have a birth certificate, they have a legal ownership over you. The state has a 1/10 share of you, and with that 1/10 share, it can knock down your door and take the baby away from you with that 1/10 share. Yeah, well, I mean, that's what, that's... Well, ownership is 9/10 of the law. Well, in this case, you see, it's a thing called admiralty law. Our world is governed by a number of old laws, and one of them is admiralty law, which is why, a ship is birthed, a baby is birthed through a birth canal. These are shipping terms. And when you go to a bank, it's a bank of a river. It's all these sort of old shipping terms were used because we're basically under some kind of under some kind of piracy system that we live in under. So I found out that you are, as a born human, you're entitled to a huge estate. Actually, you're entitled to a lot of estate. But that's been taken from us. So what they do is they give you a birth certificate and they say, if you don't come and claim yourself as being alive after the age of 7, we'll assume you're lost at sea, which is why you'll need a passport, and we will now manage your affairs for you. But they trade your...
It's in the social contract by Rousseau. He basically created this notion of a social contract, which kind of the basic idea is that you give certain liberties and certain control, in the sense, like you're saying, of yourself to the government. The government gives something back to you, which you might say, okay, obviously it doesn't. I mean, the government isn't perfect, we all know that. But there are certain things that the government gives you that
I mean, who
What we're
built this?
standing here right now, like if you, in Somalia in a park, you probably get knifed down. Certain things that here maybe as well.
Well, my sister says to me, she's in South Africa, she says, oh, London knife crime is so bad. Aren't you like worried about going around there? And that's because their media pumps up certain stories, you know, and it makes people think that they're frightened. I used to trust the government. Actually, I worked for the government for about 15 years in this country. And well, Westminster City Council. I worked in housing and then later in social care.
What do you like find out? What, like,
I didn't.
What triggered
That's
you
an
to
honorable
change?
thing, right?
Have you?
That's an honorable thing. You're working.
Yeah. So, but I used to trust that the entity of the government was maybe a little bumbling. Maybe sometimes it got it wrong, but generally it was working in the best interests of my average human being.
And the only alternative, or there's two alternatives: either the weak fend for themselves, in which case they die, or private enterprise does it, which people in England are obviously all against, because that's what Margaret Thatcher, that's for her whole idea, that private enterprise do this same stuff better. And obviously now we're seeing that maybe wasn't really true. So there's really only that way.
In some aspects for sure, but it's not a universally applicable rule. Like it makes some things worse, but some things better.
Yeah, okay. I mean, look, I acknowledge that in a society you need someone to look after the babies and you need someone to look after the sick and the elderly. You know, that's important. So yeah, whatever structure you have, you do need someone to take care of that for you. And you need someone to maybe sweep your roads or lay down new roads and stuff like that. I'm with that kind of thing. I've got no problem with that. But I have a problem with allowing a system of indoctrination or education that denies you the truth about who and what you really are.
The thing is, like, you cannot make, in my opinion, a perfect school system. You cannot educate all the relevant things. There has to be, they're just doing it basic. I don't think there's some people, and I think even though we were discussing what we said about YouTube just now, I think you can still pretty much access all the information you want online. Like, you don't have to read Wikipedia, you have tons of resources, libraries. Like here, especially in Europe, we're free to read what we want and believe what we want, and that's not the case in other countries.
I mean, China, you
if you're
probably
saying
couldn't
this
do
in China,
this. If you do this in China,
you're saying this,
Yeah,
China and
yeah,
Russia, like
yeah,
the first one,
yeah.
you couldn't do this. Take
Yeah.
away, but
Yeah.
that's your points are completely true there. But I mean, I feel like here in Europe, I mean, I can read Fox News, I can read CNN, I can read some blog by somebody who completely believes something completely different, and then out of all those, form my own opinion.
Yes.
And just on a side note, like you seem, as just a general impression, to be like kind of also anti-technology in a certain sense. So why are you like filming all the time
Did I say I was anti-technology? Did I say that?
No, but like it's usually.
No, but I was saying this while assuming.
I mean, I'm for I'm for technology that makes our life easier, but I'm not really for technology that is about stealing my, like my liberty. So, it comes back to this idea that we should be able to use a smartphone, but we should expect that that is not being listened to by the government, for example. That just as a simple thing, or that if my phone is going to cause me cancer, that they're trying to find phones or give me the best advice to prevent me from getting cancer. And if you look in all of these fields, obviously as a guy who thinks that we've been taught lies about science, then I think that our government is behind that. So I'm going to offer you this as a thought to go away with, and that is that you know that religion was probably created for the control of people's minds, right? Depending on which religion you believe in, or if you believe in no religion at all, you'll go, yes, that other religion, the one that I don't believe in, is deception and is deceiving people for some reason, right? But what happens if the religions were losing their power of deceiving people to kind of hold and subjugate the minds of the people? They'd need something else. And the next best thing, and I only acknowledge this now from my perspective that I'm in, is that science where it's like, if this and the theory of that with the hypothesis that this could happen in a dark and outer space with black holes and all these magnetic anomalies and all these other strange things could happen, then for millions of years or billions of years, and this has been happening and that's been happening, and so evolution might have occurred. And so even though we can't find anything that smacks of a half animal, half human or anything like that, we'll say that's where we come from. And for me, science now is the biggest religion on the earth, and we believe in things that we can't prove, We can't prove that water's going to go curving. We know that water's always going to it's always going to find its level when it's at rest. And we can't prove that we're spinning. We can't prove that we've evolved. We can't prove that the evolution, that the Big Bang given to us by the Roman Catholic Church ever could have happened. That things that are going to float on time and space are going to be, something that you can ever experiment. No, you're going to have to continue to take that as a belief.
Because the evidence is doubtable at best. Okay, different islands, different features.
It doesn't make sense.
That's sort of curiosity before we leave.
What triggered you?
Why am I for my YouTube? This is my YouTube. Well, this is my YouTube channel. It's Trinity 4.
But maybe they're going to take me away.
Yeah, no, well, people used to say to me a few years ago when I was saying stuff, they'd say, oh, well, if the CIA hear you saying stuff like that, or if they pick that up on the algorithm, you're going to be in trouble. Well, most of us are selling stuff that is so far away from even being close to the truth. It's like they're not worried about
Can I
us.
ask you, what triggered your change? Like, I imagine you have always believed that the earth is flat, that vaccination
Yes,
is bad, that
yes.
media is controlling.
Yes.
What triggered your change?
A couple of things. My mother died in 2011, and I went back to look at my life. It was a weird thing because she died of a disease called motor neuron disease, which is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. And medical profession could do nothing for her. They were absolutely retarded when it came to taking care of my mother. So that was the first thing, 2011. Then I found out that no one had written a story about my wars in Angola. When I was a kid, we did national service. We fought against the communists in Angola, and no one wrote about that. So I wrote a story about that, and then people... Yeah. And then and then I found out in early 2015 that 9/11 wasn't done by the Muslims, that it was more likely a deep state operation. They dropped Building 7. Dick Cheney.
What's his name again? Silver.
Oh, yeah. Lucky Larry Silverstein. Lucky Larry Silverstein makes a couple of $1 billion after spending $100 million on buying the Twin Towers, yeah? And he makes, so it turns out that that's like some kind of inside job, deep state. Then you look at like events like 7/7 and the Boston bombing and Sandy Hook and no.
Alex Jones on this one?
Actually, Alex Jones. I mean, I looked at Alex Jones. You're a fan of Alex Jones? I left Alex Jones about 4 or 5 years ago. To be honest with you, I think he is definitely a deep state activist, probably for the Zionist kind of angle. To be honest with you, that's what I think. Yeah. So I think that Alex Jones, just out of interest, has rowed away from Sandy Hook. There's a guy called Wolfgang Halbig who did a lot of research on it, and so he's taken people to court, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on with him. But I think Alex Jones has walked away from that, and the same as he's walked away from the moon landings. Joe Rogan has walked away from the moon landings.
He's gotten taken to court for that. That's why he had to stop it. I think he went in too deep on it.
You know what I think? Because
someone you get your information from who you say reliable.
Who would I get my? Well, I mean, I try to trust myself more than so. Like for example,
About things? Like, where do you do your research?
Well, for example, here's a good example. When I'd only just really started coming to terms with the fact that they were faking the ISS, and Tim Peake went up there to the ISS. So I watched it every minute of it I could, as closely as I could. And the first thing that he does is an interview. I think it's still on the YouTube, on a Channel 4. You can just go on to Channel 4 YouTube, Tim Peake's interview, right? And at 2 minutes in the interview, he does like a flip. And if you look at the flip on a big screen, if you watch him do this outer space flip, right? You can see the harness through his trousers. It becomes so obvious to me. It's like if I was a magician and I watched another magician do the trick, I'd easily see the lines or the wires or the tricks or whatever. But if you're a kid, you go, wow, what an amazing trick. Well, that's what most people are when it comes to NASA, I'm afraid, is that we've been made like children to think what fantastical stuff they have. But when you start to really unpick that stuff...
Do you think like the moon landing never happened?
Definitely never happened. I used to think it happened. Of course I think it happened. No. Other than it's a three-stage...
What about like SpaceX and Elon Musk? It's also fake?
I think Elon Musk is a South African like me, and I never heard of that kid until about 10 years ago. He was not a... He's made in a lab, absolutely. He is a CIA asset. The whole business of he came up with PayPal, so he's a multi-billionaire. He's like the Iron Man for Hollywood, right? He's this eclectic multi-billionaire who spent billions and billions and billions going to space. Yet Branson can't go to space. No man has been to outer space, to what they claim beyond 200 or 300 miles up. No man has been there since the moon landings. They say that there's the Van Allen belts now. They can't get beyond the Van Allen belts. They've lost the technology to go to the moon. This is NASA.
Just one thing, quickly in between, because my brother is really into the conspiracy things as well, and I see the error that he makes all the time is he looks critically, as he should, to all the mainstream YouTube, all the mainstream TV. He's very critical of it. But as soon as he reads something that he is inclined to agree with because of his predisposed beliefs,
Yes.
he instantly believes it. So he reads something about 9/11.
Yes.
He thinks, okay, that's a big conspiracy, it's interesting, he instantly
Yes.
believes it. Now, I'm telling him, listen, if you do the same due diligence with your entity, you have to do the same with what you read on the blog online. And that's, for me, where a lot of these issues kind of where...
You know what the same with...
believe this
Okay,
as soon as
can I
they
offer you this then for your own, because you're very, obviously very critically thinking guys and very smart. This is going to make a lot of sense to you. Is that when one of the big boys like Brian Cox, the astrophysicist types, right? I can't, their names aren't coming to me. Lawrence Krauss. I'd sit down and listen to a 2-hour lecture by these guys, right? And they'd say to me, all right, we've just imagined that we can do this, and also this, and we found quarks and we can do this, and I'd immediately believe everything that they told me, even though I had no evidence other than this is actually just theoretical science about what we now imagine using a formula or using some kind of thing. So my belief in there possibly being life on other planets, I kept believing that we're about to find life on other planets. There's a little creature, the newspaper would show a photograph of some weird looking creature. They found this microscopic looking creature, it's in a rock or whatever. Turns out that the moon rocks that they brought back from the spacewalks, the Dutch, one was given to the Dutch, for insurance purposes, they went and had it checked, and they found out that it wasn't moon rock; it was just petrified wood.
And they can't say anything. I'm Dutch, by the way.
So it's a Dutch university that did the.
Your hypothesis that basically
The thought police are there. Be careful with what you say.
that basically the Earth is flat and is pretty special because the other planets, I assume, are not flat.
Okay.
And it's like, no, I'm just asking
Yeah.
if I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
correctly. And that there is life only on Earth because Earth is so special and was specifically created for humans.
Yeah.
But that there is a whole deep state system that
controls that.
Is that
Yeah.
your
So the control.
hypothesis?
Yeah. I mean, so let me just clarify that the other planets that we're told are actually what all we can see is lights. So with the best cameras that we can buy, and the best telescopes that we can buy, if they're not digitally enhanced, to make it look like it's a shimmering planet,
Okay, quick have to get this one second. Yeah, that's helpful.
to say
What's your YouTube channel?
Trinity 4. Trinity 4 is my YouTube channel.
And you're uploading all the full videos.
Yeah, this is live now, so the whole thing is up there. Yeah, I'm live streaming. Yeah,
I hope the
yeah. There's some 30 or 40 people watching at the
What are
moment.
they saying? Are they have their...
I can't read the comments. My phone, you can see how shattered my phone is. It's like
Go on
quite
YouTube, I
badly.
want to see the comments. Wait, I want to see
Yeah, you can. Trinity 4. Yeah, you can watch it live.
I'm gonna give you a follow. Wait, I want to see us.
I got a new follower.
Perfect.
Trinity 4.
24.
Yeah.
Like 4 as in...
Number 4. Trinity 4.
That's you.
Yeah, actually,
That's look at this comment. Holy fuck, we're live on YouTube. We must go beyond this. Hey there, guys. Hello, Nicholas. What's up?
I am Dutch currently.
Currently, what? I think Van Allen based on magnetic field.
There you go, boys.
X2 and others. Holy shit.
They're seeing themselves live.
Back then when
These nerds seem pretty open, maybe not the one on the right.
They're reading your comments, guys. Be nice.
No, the comments are nice.
Yeah, no. Well, the people are pretty decent. No, I know. Well, because we realize that actually we've all been in the same kind of indoctrination school. And so for me to come to you and say, for example, you were a Christian, and me to say, oh, Christianity is all bullshit, you'd be a little offended by that. It's hard to take on board. So for me to come and say all your teachings, everything that you learn, everything that you identify yourself with has been bullshit, which is the journey that I had to go through in 2015, is hard, and it's like irritating, and it's like, what the
funny
fuck?
story about that's connected to your history written by the Victor.
Yes.
I used to live in Germany. This guy's German as well. And actually, in Germany, 80% of the war effort was in the Eastern Front. They're all fighting the Soviets.
Yes. Yes.
And what I learned in school before I graduated school, this is just what I took for a fact, is that the Americans and the English freed Europe, and they were the absolute liberators. And and they were responsible for the freedom and everything.
Yeah.
Well, but like you have
But it's
to,
actually the Soviets.
but you have to look at how this what Soviet soldiers did to German people. And what
Yeah.
American
Yeah, but that's not the case. That's an
people. It's a
individual
very,
soldier.
very different treatment
Yeah.
of what people did.
But
And did you ever hear this? I garden sometimes now. Since I left I do gardening and woodworking to try and make a living. But one guy I gardened for, 94-year-old, he's just died this year, and he went to the D-Day landings, and he said one of the funniest, surprising things was that the German soldiers on the beaches on the other side, they all committed suicide. I said I'd never heard that, and that's not what we were taught. So I'm going to offer this to you because I think that the Germans were paid. Okay, so I don't blame German people. I don't blame Germany. You know, to me, it's like bankers in a back room or controllers in the back room saying, right, if we move these around like this and we agitate them like that, they'll get angry with them, and we can create the conditionality for them to go and do this to those people. So that's what I think all war is. The white people in South Africa were treated in a similar kind of way, and I think the Jewish people are treated in a similar way when they're being used. And of course, it doesn't matter what country you go, Sudan, the South Sudanese are being used in this way to control it. So that's all that is. But this is an interesting thing, is that what if, to get ashore, someone on the German side went and killed all their own German guys, like went and killed them as they sat there, like some officer went and killed them, because I think that Adolf Hitler and Churchill were friends. That's where I'm at. That's my version of how history. No, that's okay.
World War I, they were all cousins.
Yeah, they're all. It's
Yeah,
all,
but like, it's a different story.
and you know the British royal family is kind of German,
No,
really.
they changed their name.
So
Called Windsor, actually. They have some more German.
yeah,
songs
Saxe
in it.
Coburg
Yeah,
was.
They changed it, I think, in World War One.
Yeah. So, you know, the royals, if I said to you earlier on, once upon a time it used to be the religions, then it was the royal families that controlled everything. And these royal families are all intermarrying, interbreeding. The banking families are all intermarrying, interbreeding. So there's no this side versus that side. There's only one team. There's a red side, a red arm, and a left and a blue arm. And they just use one to fight against the other to maintain control. So do I think that North Korea, for example, is a CIA asset? Yes, I do. I think that they use the atomic threat as a way of getting people to frighten people into combat? Yes, I do. So I think that you know, Churchill was the good guy and Hitler was the bad guy? No, I don't. I think they're both the bad guy. I think they're both the puppet of a system, in the same way as any of the politicians, like Trump. The bankers, the people in control.
Why would bankers benefit from a war where 60 million people die and all Europe goes to shit?
Because there's some deeper stuff than just the money. Hey, there is a eugenics program perhaps going on. Some people say they're trying to keep population numbers down, you know, by killing people. You know, because if you kill 30 million young men, how many children would they have had, or grandchildren would they have had by now, 100 years later?
Look how Africa's populations exploded.
Yes.
Like, nobody's controlling that. And like the world population back then was like maybe 1 billion, now it's 7.
No, Bill Gates is controlling the African population. He's got a vaccine program, haven't you heard? He says if we're effective, we'll keep population down by 15%.
It would probably be beneficial for Africa to have less population in order to live up to living standards.
Maybe. I mean, maybe, you know, maybe we could do that. But really, when it comes to banking, we know that we can print the money. So we can just go down to the photocopier and push print. Yeah. Money is not backed by gold or silver or anything like that. It's just paper. So the bankers who run the show, they get you to go to war with him. They lend you the money. They lend you the money for the war. Now for the next 50 years, the taxpayers will pay. They will pay back the bankers for that loan. So
you would say, who are like the main actors in this thing? The bankers, the media, or like who do you say?
Well, you say Israel. I think that one of the big pushes of World War II was to get the Jewish people unsettled so that they would move to Israel. That was one of the big reasons for the work camps, was to try and get people out of Germany and into this new state Israel, which was signed off by the British to the Rothschild family. So your question was, who's running this game? Well, you look at who's in charge. It's like the banking system and the religion system. Vatican, London, Washington DC runs all the battles.
So you say the people in Canary Wharf and City of London are running this whole show?
No, I think that they work for the people who run the whole show. I think the people who run the whole show use you know, if we were playing a board game, then we would have a bank there, we would have a military unit there, we would have, you know, we would have a religious system here and an education system there, and these are all parts or pillars of the whole, that some hidden hand, let's call it, some people say 13 families, some people say the Illuminati, some people say, you know, the Knights Templar or the Jesuits, the deep state. You know that there is a hidden hand. I can't tell you exactly what it looks like. I know it's there. I don't need to identify it. I don't even need to be angry with it, because I think that this system is what it is. We can't cry about the fact that it is what it is. And this, like nature, this is a natural system. So eventually, like a fire will come, and that fire will burn the plain or the prairie down, and then new life will grow from it. You know, and so our system now is greedy, you know, selfish. It creates all this hardship and places where people are starving while other people are using gold bathroom taps and stuff like that, you know. So that's the world we live in now. And eventually, when enough people realize, shit, this is poison, we need to change it, then nature will change.
Great. Well, thanks a lot for your time.
Lovely to meet you guys. I've enjoyed the conversation. Dave. Luke. My other son's Luke.
Good name.
Yeah, very good name. Very good name.
I believe a lot of things that you do.
Oh, right.
Every night.
All right. Well,
He only eats. He says he only eats things that come directly from nature.
that's a good advice. He's probably
And he
pretty
also
healthy.
doesn't like me using Bluetooth headphones. He says they give me cancer. Which I mean, I'm sure that.
Yeah, because at the bottom of where we're at now, I don't think in material things. I think we're electromagnets. So I think this is an electromagnetic Earth. So we're on the center plane of an electromagnet, and we are small electromagnets ourselves. So anything that interferes with that, the microwave oven, EMFs, definitely. So if you spend time in the forest, spend time sun gazing, tell him I distill my own water as well. If he's got
He does that too.
He does? Okay.
He distills, and we don't have a microwave.
Okay, yeah, got rid of that probably, yeah.
He also says he doesn't phone like this. He phones like
on the, yeah.
Do you upload videos, or do you like just live stream, or how is it?
Mostly I just live stream. My friend.
Upload the live stream, or you just live stream?
How do you mean upload them?
Like, can you not the recording of the live stream? Do you upload it afterwards, or you just live stream?
I just let it go up and it sits there on my channel. Yeah, so I don't. Yeah. Please do. Yeah, it'll be there. I don't take them down, and there's a bunch of other stuff. And show your dad my channel, and you know, there's a few fantastic channels to go and see out there. But I'll leave it at that, and I wish you guys well.
You have to be like the videos called activism. Yes, people don't believe.
Yeah. Oh, good luck, guys.
Take up more of your time, man.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot.
All the best, gentlemen. All the best. Bye-bye.
Sorry.
Hello, man. You got some questions?
Guys, where are you going?
And it's yours?
Yes.
Do you see my bike?
Yeah. I'm not filming right now, but I could do.
So why did you put such poster on the ground? So do you know? But how? There's a one sentence that caught my eye is the fact that the moon landing was a hoax. Do you believe that? Is it true?
I used to believe the moon landing, yes, but once you look at a lot of the evidence about how they could, you know, the lunar lander, for example, they never managed to get the lunar lander to work on Earth. You know, they never once landed the lunar lander safely. They never used an astronaut spacesuit in a in a vacuum chamber. They never once put an astronaut inside a vacuum chamber on Earth. But we're supposed to believe that they went all the way to the moon and tried it out for the first time. You know,
Some Russians share the same points of view, but I've never considered that it may be not. It can't be the truth. However, but.
Well, what if the entire edifice of space travel, the space race between the Russians and the Americans, was just done as like a PR stunt to get people to think that the controllers of the Russians were in a battle with the controllers of the Americans, and then we get the Cold War, you know, and again it's this idea that we're at war with these people. When in fact, if I met a Russian person, I'd shake his hand and say, "Hey, we're brothers," you know. Why are we having war? Well, that's what the governments do, is they keep people in this. So the space race was a great way of thinking, the Russians would tell the truth. If the Americans were conning, the Russians would say so. But I now don't think that we can get above a few hundred miles, if that, above the Earth surface, because once you get up high, you got very little air. You got for propulsion. You got nothing to push against. So when we look at the rocket launches critically, we find that after about 10 miles, 20 miles, they start to tip. and go down like this. And they say that's because they're trying to get out of the Earth's atmosphere, but we now say that's because they're going to splash down in the ocean.
Yeah. So what are you trying to achieve by this post? I'm really curious. So why?
We're trying to wake people up to the fact that their entire reality is a creation or a lie designed to keep them small, designed to deny them the truth about
So
who
what
they
do you
are.
think about religion then?
Religion,
Yeah.
also designed to keep you small and designed to make you think that you're insignificant or not important, when in fact you might be the center of creation. You might be the most important thing here, and yet we're willing to be treated like servants and slaves, and we're treated badly by employment and government and so on. So we're saying that the entire edifice of control around us is a lie, and that means that you must be very important, because why would they make such a grand lie? Why would they make a ball up when it's not true? Why would they make a religion up when it's not true? To control you, my friend, to control you. Absolutely to control you and to hold your mind in a tiny place. And that's where I'm afraid I was up until about 4 years ago when I started looking into 9/11. That's not the Muslims, you know that, hey?
Yeah, I
You
heard
know?
about it.
Okay. The 7/7 attack in London. Again, that
So
was a training.
before World Trade Center attack, I read that or I heard that gold was taken away from the building a day before.
Really? Yeah. I mean, the same as with that fire in Paris recently. That big church that burned down in Paris.
Yeah, I heard about it.
They moved away all the important statues just 2 or 3 days before the fire.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of things like the Titanic, JFK. You start to look into these, and you realize that they provide a conspiracy theory for the first level conspiracy theorists to say like JFK was maybe shot by 2 or 3 other people. But what about if JFK was just a dummy in the car, and it was only a dummy they killed? They never killed the real man, for example. But they did it to kill the spirit, the human spirit. Because by killing this guy who was going to, change the world and make the world a better place, JFK, that's what most people thought in the 60s, and then they kill him, what power can do that? And then what power is it that no one can really ever truly investigate and understand who did it?
That's all right.
So it's fascinating, my friend, because actually this world we live in is completely at war. If you look at the news, you think we were all at war with each other. The world, Iran, Syria, you name it. It's this, and in fact, humanity just wants to love itself, but we keep getting drawn into these arguments over religion, over skin color, over sexuality, and balls.
Thank you for your time.
My brother, it's nice to meet you. My name is Dave.
Daniel.
Daniel, nice to meet you, brother. Brother Daniel. Oh, I forgot you guys are still there. Has anyone got a spliff for me? I could really do with a smoke. It's like when you're in the kind of, when you're in the doing it, it's nice to have that reprieve, with a little spliff every now and again. Hey, Harry.
It's quite good, isn't it?
That's been pretty nice out, actually. Have they gone? Looks like they've gone. I saw Jemima there as well. I thought she was going to go the rug munching way, actually, but can I get some water, please? Some water, please? Yeah. No, I'm looking at me, not you. My live people know me to be pretty ribald.
Rough around the edges. Well, hopefully,
Distilled and level.
and hopefully you had an internal conversation with her. So,
Yeah, I was ready to have a conversation with her, but they've gone. My shoes. How are we doing on time?
it's 4:30.
Oh, is it?
Andrew, I can get another box.
Shoes, look at that. My shoes for me. Thank you. Thank you. Harry showed me a video of of Alexander from a year ago, actually, and oh my lord, he's cute. So cute. Oh, you're on this one, Harry. You're quick on the mark. Yeah, Oh. Good afternoon, my friend. Fellow human, you don't mind if I film you, do you?
No, I do.
Okay. Are you, have you looked at this before?
Not the first time.
By the rivers of Babylon. I'm not for that, you know, you can believe whatever you like, but the covering of the woman is, to me, again, one of these sort of control mechanisms. And that women go along with it is the same reason why women go along with being circumcised in some cultures. And men! There's a lady who's come in a swimsuit, which is really good sport of her, really. What's this feature on my phone? It seems to be like some kind of zoom feature. Gotta be careful when speaking to the young people. Parents don't always like their children being given truth. Don't tell them that Santa Claus isn't real. I scared that guy off. Oh, word. The rivers of Babylon. Running. Flat Earth, round bum. So we are still in England. But it's so cosmopolitan here, you gotta love that. Hello. I think she was talking to me. I think I heard her say I don't like that. It's hard to tell. I couldn't really lip read very well on this occasion. Sorry, I am being a little bit scornful, but really, I don't... Like if you said, oh yeah, I've just had a kid and I'm about to circumcise them, don't expect me to give you much respect for that. It's obviously your choice, unfortunately. But, I think it's nonsense. It's almost Harry's twin now. Same colorings. Same colorings. Let's see if I can get him to stop. He's your twin, mate. Pretty. I think culture is great. I think having a rich culture, and you know, when you go to some countries, you see the richness of the culture. It's fantastic, and I'm all for it. But you know, yeah, we've all been controlled in so many ways. This is one of those controls. I got it.
You will be keeping up the rotation of the Earth. That's what it's about. If you don't believe in scientific fact, then you don't believe in doctors or television or anything like that.
No, we don't. I don't believe in doctors or television, anything like that.
No.
Excuse me, mate, you filming, mate?
Yeah. Oh.
You make sure you delete it, please.
Okay. Okay. Can't delete it, mate. It's live. Grumpy. Harry's got a tough customer there. I've probably talked enough for one day, so I might call it quits here and say goodbye for now. John Thor came down the other day. That was really nice of him to do some activism. Unfortunately, we had a few technical and locational hitches, shall we say. It didn't go quite as hoped, but then that's how it goes with activism. Some days it's you get some really interesting conversations, and some days it just doesn't all come together. And getting a decent signal in London sometimes seems to be a problem, particularly around the high buildings and stuff like that. So thanks for coming by and stopping in and so on. Please encourage people to get out and do a little bit of this yourself somewhere. I understand you may not want to stand near your own local train station, or Roxanne did a lot of that. I just think we need to, no, we don't need to do anything. But if you can join us or join them, I'll look forward to catching up with you again in the not too distant future. Maybe I shouldn't stop just yet.
You're not coming up with a tangent argument. Because every time I come up with a question, you just say, I don't know. I'm thinking, right, how can I answer your question? But you're not. You're just going, you don't know, and you carry on to the next phase. You are trying to tell me your agenda. And what's my agenda? Flat Earth. Flat Earth. I'm questioning what I'm being told.
I'm still here. I'm filming myself, but listening to this conversation.
They have not provided evidence that gravity can hold water to the sea of a ball. That's never been proven.
They have, but it depends if you believe it or not.
So with all due respect,
believe it.
tell me where I can recite that.
Oh well, to be honest, mate, look, I can't.
Are you going to say you don't know?
I can't come up with names.
I don't know.
I can't come up with names or scientific papers to prove that.
Fair
but
enough.
look, if you give me 5 minutes, I'll go on Google and I'll find it.
I'm here for 20 minutes. Now,
right? And to be honest, mate, the flat earthers I have met in the past, right, find all their research off.
I'm filming me, not you.
I never came to.
What about my voice?
Yeah, I'm not filming your voice.
Are you recording my voice?
Yes, of course I am. You can't stop me from doing that, pal. You can't stop me from doing that.
Fair enough, right, but right. From what I've seen of flat earthers, right, they get all their information off YouTube. Every time I see anything of flat earthers on the internet, they do, oh, go on YouTube, watch this.
Please don't judge me with other people you've met in your life. I'm not judging you and other ballers I've met in my life. But can I just ask you, why are you so angry about it?
No, I'm not angry.
Really? We'll go when it's finished.
You know about it. I'm not angry.
You're starting me off there.
Because I give up on you, mate, because every time we this talk, every time I come up with a question, you're just going, I don't know.
But can't you say that rationally to me then? Now, I'll listen to you more then.
I think you've got to agree to disagree.
Yeah, we can do that.
And I'll do this.
Do you know what I think is beautiful? Two adults are able to have a different opinion but still have respect.
Mate. Of course, man.
And that's all I'm asking for.
Yeah.
Now, I can be judgmental and say, oh, fucking, that's nuts. That's nuts. But I'm still willing to talk to them and say, well, why do you think it's nuts? I'm really interested to know why you think they're flat.
I don't know if you can hear Harry, but
If people want to fire off names at people and ad hominem attacks, and, You know, does that come from insecurity or something? Well, I don't understand why people
No,
get personal.
I don't.
You know, I'll defend the right
The earth
for
is
you
flat,
to say what you believe in. All
water's
day long.
level.
And you as well, mate.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. And I think that's what we should be doing.
Oh, of course, man.
And all I'm doing, whether you think I'm right or wrong, is trying to expose
How is making friends and influencing people. So I'm going to leave it at that. It's all good.